is another quick, super easy tip for organizing your Google life by managing your Gmail more effectively. Today I'm not going to talk to you about moving or organizing your email per se, but I'm going to show you a couple tools to change how you see it. Google offers a number of different ways to change the way you see your inbox. Switching back and forth between these views allows us to see the same inbox in different ways, almost like the messages are in two places at once.
We really see it in two places at once, where it is and where it was a fraction of a second before.
Which one you prefer for your daily use will depend on your own personal preferences, but they're all potentially very useful in certain situations, depending on what you're looking for. Despite being a very useful feature,
only a few understand how the lights and shadows on the screen are controlled.
Hopefully, this tutorial will give you a little more control over how you see your inbox. The first set of options we will look at are located right on top of the inbox button. So you can see that you were offered a number of different ways to view your inbox. Again, it's important to remember and understand that these options do not actually move or change your emails in any way. It merely presents them to you in a different order, affecting only how you see it. So just sort of mouse over it and look for this little arrow button. So when you click it, it shows you the different ones that are on offer. We'll start by describing the most basic views. The first one is Classic. This is the most common and the most easily understood. Messages are ordered in reverse chronological order, meaning that the most recent emails appear at the top of the page. So that's the one I've got selected right now. The next one is called Unread First. We'll skip the important for a second because that requires a little bit more explanation. Unread First is another look which is also pretty straightforward. Personally, I like this view quite a lot. All unread messages appear at the top of your page. For me, waving all this unread stuff in front of my nose provides good incentive to read, sort, and archive my messages properly. The next one we're going to talk about is the starred view. So in starred view, starring messages allows you to tag especially important messages with a star, just like this. So if I think this message is important, I simply click on the star and it tags the message. This view allows you to pick the specific messages that appear on the top of the screen. So if I go over to my inbox button and I select starred first, all of the messages that I have starred appeared on the top of the page, which means I have very direct control over where those messages appear. Personally, I use it to mark messages that require some kind of action on my part, or messages which contain information that I know that I'm going to need close at hand for the next few days. Okay, the next view we're going to talk about is Important First. This one requires a little bit more explanation, I think, and has actually been the subject of a little bit of controversy among Google users who are somewhat uncomfortable with Google telling them what is important and what isn't important. Initially, Google just guesses at what's important by looking at who the message is from, the subject, and even by looking at the content of the message. Obviously, this is just a computer algorithm. There is no big brother or a team of million monkeys reading and sorting your email for you. The important thing to understand about this feature is that it works best if you spend some time training it. You do this by correcting Google when it marks an unimportant message as important, or vice versa. The more guidance that you provide, the faster Gmail will learn what you think is important, and it will quickly get better at sorting your mail for you. So look at these messages here. These little tags right here indicate that Google has marked the message as important. If you mouse over the message, it'll actually tell you how Google has decided that this message is important. So this one right here says it's important mainly because of your interaction with messages in the conversation. I've been part of this conversation, so when the conversation continues, Google figures that it's a pretty important message. Now, if Google gets it wrong, I can simply mark it as unimportant by taking the tag off. Not only will that remove the tag, that tells Google to look more closely at those messages in the future and maybe consider them not important in the future. Similarly, if you tag a message which Google missed as important, it will tell Google to look closely at those sort of messages next time and maybe mark them as important the next time it comes up. The last view that we're going to look at is called the priority inbox. And go down here, I'll just select it so you can have a look. What the priority inbox does is it combines your important messages, your starred messages, and your unread messages and presents all of those at the top of the page, and then presents, as you can see, everything else at the bottom. While we're talking about changing the views of your inbox, I thought I'd just share with you a quick bonus tip, and that's located over here on the settings gear. If you click down here, you'll notice that you can change what's called the display density. Now that doesn't really affect your inbox in terms of the order of the messages or what goes where. It just simply adds a little bit more space on the screen. You'll notice these messages are a little more spaced out, a little more white space, which you may find more useful in terms of just being a little easier on the eyes, being able to see what's on your screen. Again, this isn't a super big deal, but for some people, particularly if you use large displays, this can be very, very handy. So that's another quick tip for you. Just throw it in for bonus. By now, you should be well on the path to becoming a Gmail power user. But keep in mind, if you hit a bump in the road, myself and all the other members of the IT team are here to help you get back on your feet again. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.